Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm. This week, we sit down with Justin Robinson, the defensive coordinator at Marian University. In this conversation, Coach Robinson discusses why he chose to be a football coach, the impact that high school football had on his career, and being selected as the 2023 NAIA Assistant Coach of the Year by the AFCA. But first, a word from CoachComm.
Deuce left, check with me. If they're in quarters match, we're going to Pittsburgh or Ohio.
They're in zero.
Let's go Hippo, Seattle, wide choice. If we call the protection right, it's 6.
When a play call is the difference between winning and losing, your headset choice could be your most important decision. When the call counts, CoachComm is the only choice for clear, dependable communication. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
We got it, guys. Good job.
Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Robinson.
Coach Robinson, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's good to see you, and excited about diving into the coaching career of Coach Robinson. How's that sound?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, as we roll through the podcast, we typically start off with this question because we've gotten a lot of different answers over the years, and I think it's a special call in what we do. And so, I go ahead and ask you here, what made you decide that you wanted to be a ball coach and get into this profession?
Man, great question. And first, again, I just want to thank you for being on. It's truly an honor. I've watched a lot of these, and, it's an honor to finally be here speaking with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's a great question. What got me into wanting to be a ball coach, and to be honest, man, football saved my life. I had a lot of guys that were football coaches that poured into me at a young age. I was a kid that was trying to be cool, hanging out with the wrong people. And, I thought I wanted to be somebody I wasn't, until my high school football coach, Vince Moranzano and Dave Whittemore set me aside and said, basically, man, you got two options. Either you're going to get your life together and you're going to have a great life, or you're going to be dead, and just kind of having those people in my life that really poured into me at an early age, along with my family, and just kind of seeing the way they were with us as players and, how it was always bigger than football, right? It was always bigger than ball. And I thought to myself, this is something I think I want to do. Obviously everybody has the dream of going professional, but when that didn't happen for me, I needed to have a plan quick. I was actually going to school to be a dentist, kind of crazy situation. It's crazy, man. I love teeth, and that was a big dream of mine to be a dentist.
Yeah.
And I started going into those dental offices and hearing those drills, and I realized quickly that wasn't for me.
Right.
So then I thought to myself, what was one thing that I'm pretty passionate about, and that's connecting with people and helping them developing myself, and obviously leading young men. I think I have a gift for it. And so I said, man, I want to go and be a coach.
Yeah, man. Well, I definitely say Dr. Robinson has a nice ring to it, but at the same time,
no doubt,
I think Coach Robinson, that impact that you're having is obviously just expanding, every single day. So I'm happy you came this route, man. But that's awesome. Now, you mentioned probably, the one consistency that comes in a lot of these, this question is that most of us had some type of desire to play at the next level, and then you hit this tough spot in your life where it's like, it's probably not going to happen. And then you kind of start the journey of getting that first job, and that's they always say not unless you're trying to transition levels, like that first one is just so tough to get. You had finished up at the University of Indianapolis, playing Division II ball there in the state of Indiana. What was your next course of action when you kind of had that realization? You knew you weren't going to be a dentist. You knew that, the next level probably wasn't coming your way. What was your course of action to get rolling in the profession?
Yeah, it's actually, I started training. I started training kids, defensive linemen. I played D-line in college, so I started just training defensive linemen while working in the corporate sector. I was working in insurance, doing really well. But, there was always something missing, right? There's that void.
Yeah.
So I started training, man. And, a kid I was training with, he went back to his high school coach and was like, hey, coach, I would love for you to meet my trainer. He's doing a really good job with me. I think he can help this program. And so I met Ron Qualls, who was my first head coach in high school. And we had a 30-minute hour conversation. And his exact words were, hey, man, I think you're a leader of men. I would love for you to be my defensive coordinator. And so, again, I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get it going. And it was awesome, man. He entrusted in me, and, I'm an avid learner, I'm an avid researcher. So, going into that role, he kind of put his arms around me and, kind of mentored and coached me through it and helped me understand what it is he's looking for, and ultimately allowing us to have success as a team.
Yeah.
And it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. I tell people all the time, man, it was a blessing, man. It was a blessing. I know you hear this a lot, right place, right time, but I also think the body of work of being a good person and allowing others to kind of speak for you sometimes is stronger than you just trying to speak for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt, man. That's awesome. That kid felt, passionate enough for you to come over and have that conversation. And the coach, felt passionate enough to skip over the D line or the, freshman defensive coordinator or whatever, you just hop straight kind of into that role. So I do have to ask about that. Like, I can only imagine you had never thought about quarters coverage. You probably had never thought about how you're stopping a smash route, smash concept and stuff like that. So, as you transition into this role, obviously excitement, obviously a little bit of nervousness as you kind of, it gets a little bit more realer. But when you start talking about these things you just never thought about, the back end, linebacker play, you obviously you're a little closer to those guys, so you probably have a decent understanding of that. But, how did you get out that comfort zone and make sure that you were going to, be in a great position to be a good DC that first year?
Yeah, good question. Again, like I said earlier, I'm an avid learner, and I truly believe that if I don't know something, I'm going to figure a way to learn it, right? So, immediately I started reading a ton of books on coverage.
Yeah.
I started reading a lot of different people out there on the websites. I started looking at YouTube, man. YouTube started teaching me a lot. And then I had a lot of conversations with my head coach, man. I had a lot of conversations with him on just, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And he was never the guy that was like, hey, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Right. He was like, hey, that's a good idea, but have you thought of it from this angle? Have you thought of it from that angle? And so the whole time, and now being an adult, I realized what he was doing, which is building confidence.
Yeah.
Right. He wasn't telling me I was wrong. It was more of, hey, I like your thought process. Now look at this.
Yeah.
Right. So he's giving me that positive affirmation while still teaching me.
Yeah.
And the first game was nerve wracking. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was nerve wracking. I'm sitting there and these kids are clinging on every word I'm saying, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I gotta cling to you guys too, because
right.
This could go one of two ways. In the first game we go out there, and then once I kind of just start calling the plays, man, it just felt natural. It felt natural because I felt I was prepared. I felt just the help and the staff that was around me that wanted me to succeed. I felt good in that space.
Yeah.
Like I said, we did well that year. We went 9-2. We went further than they've ever gone in the sectional or the tournament until recently. And so it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. And getting out the comfort zone, I think, was the best thing I actually did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go there expecting him to say, you can be the DC, right?
Right.
I expected, okay, yeah, you want to be our D-line coach, but to immediately put me in a position of leadership, it got to step out your comfort zone for sure.
That's right. Well, let me ask you a kind of a twofold question here. Number one, the difficulties, like, obviously your grades back on it, you remember the 9-2 season, you remember when everything was rocking, but at some point in time there, there was definitely something where you was like, man, I might be a little in over my head, or I wasn't prepared for this. What was one of those challenges, just being in that first year with this major leadership role? And then number two, at what point in time in that during the course of that year, it kind of sounded like it might have been that first game, but at what point was like, yeah, I got this. Like this, I got it. Like the nervousness, all that other stuff is kind of past. I'm good to go.
Right. To answer your first question, the difficulties, it was a lot of, and I think they were more so off the field.
Yeah.
Because, I truly believe, the field is easy, right? Like once you really look at it, everything that's happening off the field, the stuff that happens on the field, that's the easy part of life.
Yeah.
Right. Now you get to do what you love to do. You get to fly around, you get to play, right? It's the off the field and me being a young, I think at that time I was around 26, 24, being a young kid that is essentially trying to coach older men, right? On what I want, how do I want it, trying to filter through all the suggestions and ideas, and it's to a point where I had to learn that humility, right? I had to learn that, hey, just because you researched and you learned a lot, you're a smart guy, you still don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I had to really take a seat back and say, hey, you know what? These guys are here to try to help me. They've seen way more football than I've seen. And I need to lean on them as opposed to saying, no, this is what we're going to do because I got it.
Yeah.
Right. I went from I got it to we got it. And I think once I made that transition and really understood it, I think that's when things started to really change for me. And then, your second part of the question, I don't think I found my groove and was really comfortable till like game 4. Now we played some teams, man, that I'm sitting there on the sideline and I'm like, all right, I know we're in a good coverage here. I know this is going to get home, and they bust you for 80. And you're like, well, hold on. Wait a minute now. That didn't look right.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to make adjustments and figure out what just happened, right? And by the time you figure it out, you guys are right back, where the offense is up and something happens and you're right back, right?
Yeah.
And so, part of that was just that learning curve, man. The learning curve of, we tell our guys all the time to have don't dwell on plays, next play. I think as a coordinator, sometimes, I was getting to the part where I was like, how did that just happen? While another play is going on, and I'm like, wait, I can't let that happen again.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking about that and something else happens. And it's like, man, all right, you really got to focus on play to play, make your corrections, trust your assistants, trust the kids, and make adjustments from there, So, like I said, I don't think until like game 3 or 4, man, I really got into a groove and was comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
Saying.
Now, this is a tremendous opportunity to be able to call it first, just to do it so early, and then have the opportunities a couple times in your career to go back and be a defensive line coach and just really focus on that core group rather than the whole defense. So, in 16, you go back to being a defensive line coach at another high school there, and then 17, you go back to being DC associate head coach at Evansville Central High School, and kind of lumping these things together here. Obviously you have these 3 years of high school experience. What was special about those years in terms of just being a ball coach and developing this group of kids that are, some of them are just learning to get in a stand, some of them are just learning to catch and tackle and all these type of things that help, prepare you, especially as you're kind of more in the role now here over the last, about almost 10 years now, been a collegiate coach. What prepared you at that high school level to be as good as you are now?
I think honestly, it taught me how to be a teacher, and it taught me how to really meet a young man where he's at, right? And it taught me perseverance. It taught me patience.
Yeah.
It taught me how to become a better man myself and how to become a better leader, because you're in high school and a lot of these kids are very impressionable, right? And I started to realize a lot of these kids were a lot like me. It didn't matter race. It didn't matter anything other than we all had a lot in common, right? A lot of times it was kids where I was their last saving grace before they were off on the streets.
Yeah.
Right. So you you handle those situations with care. You know, you learn to truly embody what a lot of those kids are going through, but also with that, you learn to help them get out of their situations. You know, and I was blessed at Evansville Central. You know, we had a ton of athletes, and even the way I became the defense coordinator there was crazy. You know, I had just moved down there with my wife, and I went just looking for a job to be a D-line coach. You know, and I found Evansville Central, and I got there, and 3 days later, the defense coordinator left to be a head coach. Right. Yeah. So Andy Owen comes into me and is like, "Hey, you're articulate, you're smart. These kids look up to you already. You want to do it?" And then he's like, "Hey, anything happens to me, man, just know I'm gonna make you the associate head coach if something happens." I'm like, "All right, cool." You know,
just like that.
All right, let's do it. So again, man, it's. I think high school coaches are invaluable. You know, and I think my time in high school really prepared me in my thought process to how I handle things now. And I think, honestly, God, if I did not spend some time in high school, I honestly think I wouldn't have some of the same characteristics as I have now.
No question.
You know, so I'm very, very thankful that I went the high school route. You know, and I'm thankful that the people that I interacted with and met, you know, everything happens for a reason. And God's hand was on my journey early on and still now. And it's been a blessing ever since.
So, you know, you have these 3 years that, you know, as you put it, are monumental to, you know, just the philosophies and how you probably handle yourself as a coach. But something in there, you want to go tap into the collegiate level, or somebody call
right.
You make the step to Hanover College, a little Division III program there in Indiana. What propelled you to that situation? Kind of how did that go down?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had literally just finished up our season with Evansville Central. You know, we did really well. I met a lot of good people down there, a lot of good coaches down there. You know, and again, we played really well. Right. So it was a team that, you know, some people would say, "Oh, this team's a bunch of misfits." Right. We went from being misfits to extremely disciplined, fast, physical, you know, winning games and winning regionals and going to state the next year after I leave. Right. So through all that, you know, there's a couple of coaches down there that made some phone calls. My head coach, Coach Theobald, was recruiting the area at the time. They had just had a defensive line opening. And he was asking guys down there, like, "Hey, you guys know anybody, please send them my way. You know, we're looking for a D-line coach. We need somebody, send them my way." And you know, next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call from him. I'm on the phone with him. We're talking. I interview. I go up there, interview in person, and the rest is history. You know, he not only became my first collegiate coach, but one of my good friends, you know, and guy, a family member now. You know, so again, right place, right time, I guess. But also too, I think a lot came to with my body of work. Yeah. Right. Like, I'm not a very brash person that is arrogant about what he does. Right. I put my head down, I grind, I pray that we have results, and if not, learn from it, move on. Right. Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So I was blessed to get that phone call, man, and literally went from a high school defense coordinator to a position coach in college, you know, and was having an amazing time there.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's crazy. It's fun.
Now, when, you know, obviously you're having these interactions with these coaches from other teams that, you know, places that you've been, you have no idea that these guys are picking the phone up and talking so positively about you, your body of work. You know, I just think that's important. So often, especially as we're trying to climb the ladder in this career, it's so much about like the next thing. Let me get on Scoop, see what's going on type deal. And oftentimes I don't want to say we don't do a great job of taking care of the job that we have, but we just don't put that type of effort that, you know, hey, if this phone call does happen, are these people going to speak highly of me, or am I the guy that's already trying to get out the door? So, you know, hat tip to you there on that deal. Now, I do have to ask, obviously you said you ended up in that area because your wife took a job, right? Initially. So this is a conversation that has to be had because, you know, the high school thing, you know, it's definitely not as easy. My brother's a head high school football coach here in Texas. I mean, he's definitely had his hardships trying to find jobs here and there,
Yep.
but there's always high schools. They're always there. You know, opportunities exist. Now, when you start talking about this collegiate deal, it gets a little bit more difficult, as we're going to talk about here in a second, because next thing you can be in Indiana and a year later you can be in Tennessee, right?
Right.
You know, and so how do you go and have that conversation with the wife, especially when she knows almost Dr. Robinson, now Coach Robinson,
No
who's the
question.
high school
No
coach, but now
question.
you're talking to me about college and
No
you know,
question.
how did that dialogue go? Just introducing, you know, this whole different type of profession to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, my wife is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not just saying that 'cause she's my wife, right? Like she literally is better than I could have prayed for, right? And having the conversation, you know, going into coaching originally, the conversation was already had that, babe, I want to coach in college someday.
Oh, okay.
I don't know when, but I would like to coach in college someday, right? And she was already a college volleyball coach.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you know, it was one of the situations where, you know, I'm watching her, you know, live out her dream. You know, she was a stud volleyball player at the college we went to, and just watching her live out her dream as a Division I volleyball coach, right? It was everything, you know, and we had that conversation because she knew I wanted to coach in college. And so the conversation had always been, we're going to, any opportunity you get, we're going to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
We're going to see if it works for our family. And if it's a situation where you have to go a certain distance, hey, understand, we're going to hold it down and we're still going to be good.
Okay.
You know, and so it's been that conversation, man. And with her being an athlete, she understands.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, with her being a coach, she understands. But even with her, man, she's taught me so much on just how to handle it all, right? How to be a coach and be a husband, how to be a coach and be a father. You know, she showed me that through her first few years of being a volleyball coach. You know, she was able to do it. So yeah, that's kind of how it went. She knew the minute I told her I got a phone call from Hanover, she knew I was most likely going to take it.
Yeah.
But the crazier parts of the whole story is she literally had just gotten a volleyball job as a head volleyball coach.
Wow.
Yeah. So she had just gotten the head coaching job at Marian University. There in Louisville.
Okay.
And I had, like a month later, got the phone call for Hanover. And so it just worked out so conveniently that Clarksville, Indiana is 15 minutes from Louisville, 45 minutes from Hanover. So we was able to make it work, man. And again, I couldn't script my life better than what God has done. I couldn't.
Yeah. So I would imagine that first year was very convenient to be able to, you know, both be close to each other, you know, not have to do
Absolutely.
a separation thing that you talked about. But I can imagine some of the conversations weren't very long because you're going zipping and running.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a recruiting coordinator, D-line coach, and she's the head ball
Absolutely.
coach at over in Louisville. I mean, that's insane, man. So I did not know that prior to these questions. So I am going to visit your wife here a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
With some of these
Absolutely.
questions, because clearly this is just another balancing point in some of these, you know, different job opportunities that you take. Now, you know, what would you say was your biggest probably adaptation to coaching at the collegiate level? You know, any facet that you can kind of think of. But what was your biggest thing that you're like, this is a little bit different vibe than what I had at the high school level? Good, bad, or indifferent. But what was one of your big adaptations you had to make?
I think the biggest one was when I met Eric Galton, Matt Theobald up at Hanover, right? Just kind of teaching me the ins and outs of actual collegiate coaching. Mm-hmm. You know, not always being so eager to speak, but sometimes just really listening.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was in a role for 3 years where the voice was mine.
Yeah.
You know, and then you switch roles and you kind of still have that same mentality that you had to have an answer, right? But sometimes it was just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
And really soak in what they're talking about. You know, and football's football, right? No matter what level you're at, football's football. there are some different nuances. There are some verbiage. The guys are faster. They're bigger. It's football at the end of the day. And so I think what they did a really good job of was being able to meet me where I was at, right? And just kind of help mold and develop me into a more refined, polished coach. I was a little rough on the edges on some things, and they did a good job of pointing those flaws out. But not only just pointing them out, but hey, this is how you can get better from it. I made some mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And it was never, you're fired. It was, hey man, understand, I want to work with you. You got to get better here. You got to do this better. Hey, these are the expectations. And again, when it was my voice, I knew the expectations, right?
Yeah.
Because I set them. But when you're working for guys who have won at high levels, so Eric Gall played at Mount Union, Coach Theobald, he played at Hanover, coached at Franklin, and they both combined won so many different championships and national titles. So it's like, for me, it's like, okay, well, man, these guys have seen some things.
Yeah.
They've done things, and just getting that atmosphere and being able to just listen and reflect on what's being said and not caring about how it's being said.
Yeah.
That helped tremendously. And then the recruiting piece, right? Just the conversational piece, and understanding how to do it at the D3 level. I think that all helps me now.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. I think that's something a lot of us, that spend time in the profession or, currently in it, has dealt with to some point, and that we don't talk about it a whole heck of a lot. I mean, because you kind of talked about your two coaches there and the experience they had, but you look at you although it's only been 3 years, you've been some places, you've won some games, you've turned some programs around, you had a wealth of knowledge. Like you said, you were the voice on this whole half of a program from a defensive standpoint. How did you? I'm kind of getting down and dirty here on this question here, but like, how do you put your ego to the side and say, you know what, man, like they're not attacking me. Like I do need to listen. Like, because I can only imagine initially you might be defensive, maybe not you, but
for sure.
It would be easy in that situation for somebody with the experience that you had and the success that you had to kind of be like, nah, I got this. How did you manage that?
Well, I mean, I think with anything, and the Bible talks about the pride comes before the fall, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it was a humility thing. It was something that, my defense coordinators pulled me in his office one day and just flat out laid it out. Hey, man, either you're going to get your ego in check or you're not going to be coaching college football for long.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be guys that are going to have patience with you like we have patience with you.
Yeah.
And we have patience with you because we see something in you. And we want to try to get it out of you, and you're not allowing us to do it. And so when you put it in that perspective, it was like, maybe I do need to start looking at that guy in the mirror more.
Yeah.
And pull the thumb and not point that finger. And he gave me concrete examples, of where I could have been overzealous or I could have overdone it. Right. And once you kind of put that out in front of me, I was like, dang, yeah, I need to humble myself.
Yeah.
And now, a quick word from Hader Athletic. Since 1954, Hader Athletic has been your trusted partner in football practice equipment. Handmade in the USA with care and dedication, our products are crafted to elevate your team's performance. But what truly sets us apart? It's our unwavering commitment to customer service. When you reach out, you'll be speaking to a real person with extensive product knowledge that prioritizes you getting your equipment fast. Experience the Hader difference today. Visit HaderAthletic.com and join the community of coaches who trust us for quality, reliability, and expertise. Hader Athletic. For coaches, by coaches. Save 15% on your next order by using promo code AFCA 2024 at checkout. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I appreciate you kind of putting that out there because it is a huge thing, man. I've sat in that room and elevated myself, title wise and things like that, and always kind of do I speak up more now that I got this role and I get a new job and I know all this stuff. should I be telling the OC what to do? And it's just an internal struggle that I think a lot of coaches have, but once again, we don't talk about. So I appreciate you kind of being vulnerable there. Now, you know, that time frame that you did spend there, man, you were able to have some success, win a few conference championships, all conference defensive linemen. You know, what do you attribute to that success? I would imagine, you know, everything we've talked about, it kind of falls into that, the experience at the high school level, obviously some of those conversations early on, but, you know, what are some of the things you attribute to that initial success as a position coach at the collegiate level?
The players.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you have guys that want to buy into what you're trying to do, when you have guys that are willing to literally run through a wall for you after you've built relationships with them, I think it starts to make coaching a little simplified, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, and those guys challenged me. You know, they challenged me to be better in certain areas. They challenged me to coach them harder. They challenged me to correct them better. And those were things that I think paid off in the end. But then also too, and again, just going back to the coaching staff, right? Like having guys around you where everybody's on the same page. You know, it's everybody here wants to be successful. Everybody here wants to win. You know, and for me throughout my life, it's been very important to define what winning looks like. You know, and obviously there's off the field winning and there's on the field winning. You know, and for me, those are two totally different things.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought it was very important that the coaches I was around at that time, their definition of winning on the field was the same as mine. It was very consistent, right? And then the players, their definition was the same. So if we're all on the same page, man, it just made it a lot easier to really be able to coach those guys and embody my personality. You know, and still to this day, those guys text me, I text them. It's I love you, coach. Hey, I love you too. Hey, congrats on getting married. Hey, congrats on the baby.
Yeah.
You know, and it's awesome, man. And it all starts with relationships. It starts with relationships. It starts with the way you teach. It starts with just your mindset on how you approach the day. And I think those are some things that really contribute to early success for me.
Amen. Well, after a few seasons there, you get the opportunity to go to UT Martin, and now my map awareness used to be pretty solid, but I don't know Tennessee as well. Now, where is that in relation to where your wife is right now? Because once again, I didn't realize she was part of this equation sometimes on maybe taking some of these jobs, or you know, however you're going to balance that. So where's your wife at this time? What is this, 22? That you take the D-line job at UT Martin. You know, where's your wife at? What's the dialogue around this? You know, and how does the job come about too?
Yeah. So at this time, my wife actually just took a Division I job. They were D2 at D1. They just moved to D1. She took a D1 job back in Southern Indiana.
Okay.
So at that time, she's now in Evansville. And so Evansville to UT Martin was about 3-hour drive.
Okay.
All right. UT Martin's on West Tennessee. The conversation was, hey, babe, I just got off the phone with the defensive coordinator from UT Martin. He offered me the job. What do you think? You know, and again, she's very supportive, and she said, doesn't make sense. You know, doesn't make sense to go down there. What is the purpose? Right. So we go through that dialogue, that conversation, you know, pros, cons. At the end of it, babe, you got to go. You got to go. Right. So, you know, I go down there. She's here with our daughter. Our daughter was going to a private school in Evansville, you know, so it was one of those things where I was on FaceTime a lot. You know, every chance I got, you know, I was driving back to see them, just to show them that, you know, hey, dad is still going to try to be dad.
Yeah.
You know, and the way the job came about, you know, I had a mentor, KB. He knew the defensive coordinator really well. And, you know, Coach P reached out to me. We had a nice little conversation, nice interview, and we actually interviewed, and next thing you know, called me and said, hey, we'd love for you to come down. When you can come down, need you to talk to our head coach, Jason Simpson. Talk to Coach Simp. That conversation went well. And then I ended up in UT Martin for a year, you know, and it was a great experience. It was a great experience.
Now, you know, at this point, Tom, well, I guess with your current job, so we will get to your current job here in a sec, but we'll just go ahead and let's lump this into the question I got here for you. You played Division II football, you coached at the high school level for 3 years, coached at the Division III level for 3 years. You get this FCS opportunity, Division I FCS, for a year, and then you're currently at this NAIA level. We've said it before, everybody will say it again. Football is football when it's down to the X's and O's part of it. But obviously there's some huge intricacies at these different levels. What are some of the things that really stood out? Particularly we're at Tennessee Martin in the story here, but at Tennessee Martin, probably different from all your previous experiences, with that being kind of the highest level. And then what were just some of those intricacies at the different levels that make them all a little special?
Right. I think honestly, resources. Yeah. Resources and manpower. When I'm at the Division III level, we did everything. Yeah. It was just like we was in high school, right? We did everything ourselves. If you wanted something done, you pulled it, you tracked it, you did it, and you presented it, right? When I got to Martin, I was fortunate enough to have a guy work with me, GA Anthony Gore, and he helped me on some different things. I tried not to ask him to do too much. He was working with some other coaches as well. But at that level, you have more resources. Yeah. You have more resources that you can kind of stretch out to other people and do, right? Where at Hanover, we gave every recruiting to ourselves. You came onto this campus, I'm walking around this whole campus with you. Yeah. And Martin, we had the luxury that we didn't have to do that. We did some, but, it was one of those situations where the resources itself yielded you to allow kind of more on football. Yeah. Right. And academic resources were different as well. I can reach out and I can do certain things at Martin that I couldn't do at Hanover. Right. So I'd say the biggest difference, in my mind was the resources and the availability to access those resources. Obviously, like I said, the players were different, obviously. I mean, that's a given, right? That's easy one, yeah, that's a given. The players were different, but ultimately, it's the same thing though, right? It's, you building relationships, you're growing, you're developing, you're finding the niche, you're finding your space again, because, I'm not coached on the Division I level before then, right? So it was finding my voice and finding when I could and couldn't, and, doing certain things here and there. And, I was able to have a lot of candid conversations with Coach Simpson and Coach P that yielded me to be an even better coach there. Yeah. So it was just, there were certain things that you won't know until you ask, right? Yeah. And again, there were times I just didn't know. So I asked, or there were times I didn't know, and it was, this isn't how it's supposed to be done. It needs to be done like this. Yeah. Right. And it's the characteristics of who you're working for, right? Like how does your defensive coordinator want it here versus how they wanted it at Hanover? What does your head coach expect here versus what you just came out of? Yeah. So just getting expectations and understandings, man. And then it's just football, man. It's coaching football.
Well, let me ask you this question, man, because you've had the opportunity at this point in time, currently both at the stop at UT Martin you've been around several different DCs, personalities. You've been around several different head coaches, different type of personalities, all of them with fantastic traits. I'm assuming all of them with some traits that you personally might not like so much, but it just kind of is what it is. At some point in time, I feel like you get in your career as you mature. You realize, yeah, man, I want this next opportunity, but how important is the people I'm around? Like, I'm going on interviews, but I'm interviewing you too. You can probably bump my salary up. Yeah, it might be a better job, but I want to make sure I'm around good people. Like, have those, have you matured to that point yet, to where it's like, man, I really want to be around good people. You talked earlier about the game on the field, winning on the field and winning off the field. That kind of resonated with me. Is that some dialogue you kind of go through as you're bouncing, around and getting these different experiences?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been very blessed that besides my wife and my family, I have a core group of guys that, I call them brothers. They're my mentors, but You know, these are guys that have rocked with me for a long, long time. You know, some of these guys I've rocked with since I was a first year college coach, right? And so we have these dialogues, and, you know, I am at that point. You know, I have reached that maturity where, you know, the money sounds great. You know, the money can be very alluring, but who are you?
Yeah.
You know, who are you, and who are you bringing around? Right? Because I do think there's a lot to be said about who you attach yourself to. You know, whether good, bad, and different. You know, if you attach yourself sometimes to the wrong people, sometimes you become associated with that person, and then your name gets drug into some things. You know, so I really am at that point now where, again, money's great. Don't get me wrong. You know, I got to be able to provide for my family.
Yeah,
100%. But there's a lot to be said about having your sanity. There's a lot to be said about not being a walking contradiction. Amen. You know, and saying, I'm going to teach your son how to be a father, and you never see your family.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to teach him how to be a husband. They never see your wife. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for me, it was trying to find that balance. You know, I want to see you be what you say you're going to be and what this culture stands for, and not just be lip service with it.
Yeah.
You know, so I do think I'm at that point. You know, and I think everybody has a fit, right? You know, what place is a good fit for you? You know, I like to call myself a chameleon because I can fit in a lot of spaces. You know, I can, but also too, I have some non-negotiables, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, definitely. I've definitely matured to that point now where it's not, oh man, I got to quickly get to FBS and make X amount of dollars. Yeah, no, God has my journey. God's been driving the car. I'm just the passenger, and wherever His will takes me, that's where it takes me. Right now, it's landed me at Marian University, and I'm having a fantastic time.
Amen. You sure are, man. You're doing a great job there. Well, let me kind of ask the last one from your journey standpoint. Last question here. Yep. I'm going to transition to a couple other questions before I let you go. But you know, you're currently the DC D-line coach at Marian University. If you could have a conversation with 2015 Justin Robinson that just accepted a high school defensive coordinator job at Heritage Christian High School in Indianapolis, what advice would you give him?
I think the first thing I'll tell him is it's going to be okay. Right? You're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
You know, trust what you know. Don't allow the negative things people may say bother you as long as you do. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. You know, and when it's all said and done, you're going to continuously have the last laugh on a lot of things. And you're going to continuously prove your family right. And you're going to continuously prove the people that are investing in you right. You know, and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Right foot in front of your left foot. Don't look behind. You're going to realize you're going to lose a lot of people, a lot of friends that say they're your friend in this industry. You're going to gain a lot more friends that are your friend in this industry. Yeah. Don't take it personal. Just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward.
Obviously, you're giving this advice to yourself. These are some of the things that, you know, you've obviously overcome throughout the course of your career. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. It's everybody's journey is so unique and so different.
So man. Unique,
and it's a beautiful thing. That's why I love being able to sit in this chair and ask these questions, man. I always learn a lot, and I hope there's some coaches out there that are, you know, making some of the same transitions or having maybe some of the same you know, situations and been able to grow from it just from your experience alone. Now, I do want to ask you this. You know, you know, you're kind of sandwiched with the D coordinator job at Heritage and currently your role as a D coordinator, you know, at Marian. You know, in between, you had these opportunities going to be a position coach. How did those opportunities, you know, further you as a D coordinator, you know, or make you a better position coach when you're able to kind of look and say, this is what I wanted when I was a DC. Let me make sure I'm that guy. And, you know, now you're back as a DC. This is what I wanted when I was a position coach. Let me make sure I'm that guy. You know, have you been able to kind of look at at those situations and grow as a, just as somebody that you're sitting in a room with all day, and obviously from an X&O standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I learned a long time ago was always keep like a running list of what you will and will not do if you were in that position. Yeah. Right. So, keep a running list of things you would and wouldn't do if you was a defense coordinator. Keep a running list of things you will and will not do as a head coach.
Yeah.
Like you said, everybody you run into, there's a nugget or two that you're always going to take away from them. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's things that you're like, I'm good on that one.
Yeah.
That's not my personality. Yeah, I'm good on that one, bro. You got that one.
Right.
So I was able to do those things. And again, at Martin, I go back to, being challenged by Coach P on some things, and, even Coach Simpson challenging me on some things. But then also that room challenging me on some things, which continuously made me a better coach. But then just, again, like I said earlier, I'm an avid learner, avid researcher. I wanted to understand our defense better than when I knew it when I first got there. So me and my assistant, Anthony Gore, we would literally meet up and we would literally all night just looking over stuff, looking over our playbook, understanding, okay, well, why will Coach P want to call this on this? Okay, this is what this means. Okay, this is his language. Okay, all that is this to me.
Right.
Right. So it was the transference of language, right? And then just kind of shoring up what I thought I knew. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I watch a lot of clinics. I do a lot of reading, just because I'm a curious person. I want to know more and more and more. So I think those things really helped me. But also reaching out to my mentors, having conversations with those guys, things I didn't understand, things that didn't make sense to me. If I was having a hard time at a certain situation, they would give me some good advice. Just continuously doing those things, I think helped me a lot. Helped me get to the point where I am now and feel confident and comfortable where I'm at now.
Well, good, man. I'm happy you kind of hit on professional development. That's a good segue. Just talking about reading, reaching out to mentors, just finding ways to continuously better yourself. Off the field, you've been heavily involved with us as an organization with the AFCA and then, FCA, and you, social media wise with people you've connected with over your career, you've created this kind of network of D-line coaches called D-Line Connect. And then I want to say at some point, here recently, 2023, you spent some time at the NFL NCAA Coaches Academy. Why is, you kind of already hit on this. You don't have to be too long-winded here, but
sure.
Why is professional development important to you? And then number two, just talk to us a little bit about D-Line Connect and what it's all about and kind of how you guys grow as a group.
Sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, professional development, you got to continuously evolve and continuously adapt. If you're not doing those things in today's age, you're going to get left behind. You got to be up to date with today's technology. You got to be up to date with how kids are receiving and perceiving messages. You got to be able to reach the people that essentially are providing your livelihood.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to be able to adapt, and professional development, mentors reaching out to people are some of the best ways to do it. Your second question with the D-Line Connect, me and Darius Davis, that's one of my good friends. I call him a brother. D-line coach at Robert Morris right now, great dude. We actually was it was last year. We was just randomly kicking in and was like, man, let's just meet up and just talk ball, talk D-line shop. And he's like, all right, well, let's get something together. We came up with D-Line Connect. We got this little group me app that we got everybody on that doesn't want to be a part of it. And then we try to meet up at convention and just talk ball. It's unscripted, no egos, just come in and talk ball. We'll have an offensive, we'll have a pass rush session, a run stopping session, and let's all just sharpen our tools.
Yeah.
We ego at the door. If somebody says, oh, I don't like the way you do it, cool, just listen to them. Listen to them because it may be better for you too.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much as a D-line coach just from the D-Line Connect because of the people that are involved, right? We have guys from the NFL all the way down, right, that are involved in the group me. And again, it's been a pretty organic thing, and it's been pretty cool to see. Like I said, I had to leave early this year, but even then we still met up.
Mm-hmm.
We were still able to talk and still able to, hash out some things. So the D-Line Connect's pretty cool. It's growing. I think it's going to continue to grow, and I'm excited to see everybody next year.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Well, we'll definitely make sure we can plug you in there, and
No
make sure you guys got what you need at the convention, so
Thank you.
that thing can go smooth. Now, last thing before I let you go, this past season you were named the 2023 AFCA NAIA Assistant Coach of the Year. Now, obviously anytime you're recognized, that's huge. It means a lot to your staff, a lot to the players, all that kind of stuff. But what's special about this one to me is that it's voted on by your peers, guys that line up next to you at some point in time in their career, lined up across from you at some point in time in their career, or this year. What does that mean to you, especially knowing that your peers are the ones that kind of recognize you for this?
Yeah, no, it's an honor, to be honest. It's a huge blessing. It's a huge honor. And again, you asked that question, what would I tell my old self, right? It's all those things that I would have told them is kind of coming into fruition, right? Just keep running your own race, keep putting out good products, but also keep surrounding yourself with great people. Coach Cares here, man, is unbelievable, even for taking a chance on me, and he wraps his arms around me, and he surrounded me by a very mature coaching staff. So my DB coach, Coach Tutsi, my linebacker coach, Coach Deckard, my nickels coach, Coach Moore. You got Coach Kaz. You got so much experience that are connected to me. That growth is continuously happening.
Yeah.
And then obviously the players. Marian University is a great institution. It's typically known as a powerhouse in NAIA football. So the type of kids we get, the type of kids we're able to develop, are kids that want to live up to what this place is about. And it's a tradition-based place. It's very family-oriented, faith-based, and it's a blessing to be here. And that award doesn't happen if those young men don't believe in me, don't believe in my leadership. They don't believe in what we're trying to accomplish day in and day out as a defense.
Yeah.
And ultimately what we're trying to do as a team here. So it's been an honor, man. It's been kind of surreal, because at first I got the assistant coach in the conference, right? And I was like, dang, that's really cool. That's really cool. And then this happened, and I was like, wow. So you're going and walking around a convention, and literally everybody's speaking to you.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, damn, this is real life, and it's really humbling. It's really, really humbling and very appreciative. And like I said, I couldn't be more happy for this program to have that now attached. And it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing.
That's right, man. Well, that 2015 version of you would be excited to know that was coming down the pipe at some point in time. With many more blessings and all that good stuff coming your way, man. Well, hey, I seriously appreciate the time, man. This is kind of getting back in the groove in the studio after the convention and the season and all that kind of stuff. So this was a fun one to kind of get everything kind of popping off with, man. So I appreciate you. And before I let you go, I'd love for you to plug your social media. So, guys interested in just your story or the D-Line Connect
Absolutely.
or whatever they want, they can connect with you.
Absolutely. If you want to reach out to me, it's Coach_JAY53. Now it's kind of weird. You got to click on it. And you'll see a handsome face on there, and then that's me. All right, I promise that's me. You hit the button, you can DM me. I do my best to get back to messages. If you want my phone number, you can DM me as well. And then I'm pretty accessible to people. I try not to be that guy because there's so many people that help me. So, I'm willing to help anyone. D-Line Connect. I'll start putting out some things here pretty soon. We're going to do some D-Line Zooms, have some guest speakers on there. And then there's another thing that I'm working on with some GAs and young coaches that, I think is going to be pretty exciting. So, just stay tuned for that as well.
All right, man. Well, we'll make sure to link that in the show notes, make it easier for guys to click that link and follow and keep up with your journey and D-Line Connect and all the great things that are coming your way, man. I appreciate you. And best of luck this spring and as we move into the fall, okay?
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
CoachComm has been delivering tough headsets for tough teams for more than 31 years. It's why 97% of FBS teams and thousands of high schools across the country rely on CoachComm. Get the best for your team. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to AFCA.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm on wherever you get your podcast, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.